from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka. This is the National News, come to you live from Rupavahini. Good evening. Bringing you your stories for today is Clifford Richards, and I'm Shara Mascarenhas.
The Minister of Power instructs the Electricity Board to take speedy steps to supply electricity without inconveniencing the people. Schools will reopen tomorrow after the advanced level examination. The Prime Minister emphasizes drug rackets should be eliminated for the protection of future generations. Russia faces economic, trade and financial impacts following the Ukraine invasion. A super luxury train operates between Kandy and Alla for tourists. Veteran artist Bertie Gunathilaka passes away. An agreement reached to reactivate Iran nuclear treaty.
Those are your headlines, and on to the main story for today. Horror in Ukraine, and for 5 days in some of the main cities there's no water, there's no sanitation and no food. And main leaders of the world have come together trying to find a solution. However, the global supply chain has impacted the economy as the 11-day conflict continues. We don't know what really will stand in the coming days, but President Zelensky says that there are several other towns that will be under attack as well. Clifford, it doesn't look too good as well, and it's looking too scary. But I understand that some of the global companies have also banned in using Russia in terms of transactions.
Sharon, you mentioned about solutions, but we don't see any solution in sight, and also the situation is still dire. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has led to massive sanctions and resulted in heavy blows to its economy. Meanwhile, Visa and MasterCard have announced suspension of all operations in Russia in protest at its invasion of Ukraine.
Cards issued by Russian banks will no longer be supported by their networks, the payments giants said yesterday. Together, the two companies control about 90% of credit and debit payments in the world outside China. Also, PayPal as well as Samsung have suspended their services in Russia in response to the country's military aggression in Ukraine. Meanwhile, a ceasefire and a chance for civilians to leave was announced yesterday in the Ukrainian port city of Mariupol, where an estimated 200,000 people are trapped under heavy bombardment by Russian forces. But after less than 2 hours, Russia's army began shelling residential areas again, trapping civilians who had begun their escape. Russia accused Ukrainian forces in Mariupol of blocking residents from leaving. The city is now in its 5th day with no water, no power, no sanitation, and food and water are fast running out. In the meantime, British military intelligence said that Russian forces were targeting populated areas in Ukraine, but that the strength of the resistance was slowing with the Russian advance. In its daily intelligence report, the UK Ministry of Defence said Russia had responded to the unexpected ferocity of the Ukrainian military response by targeting cities. It used similar tactics in Chechnya in 1999 and Syria in 2016, employing both air and ground-based forces. Russia has repeatedly denied that it is targeting civilian areas. The intelligence report said that there was a realistic possibility that Russia was attempting to conceal fuel trucks as regular support trucks in an effort to conceal losses. Its supply lines reportedly continue to be targeted, slowing the rate of the advance of its ground forces. The report further mentions heavy losses in weapons, equipment, and personnel, alongside the losses of 88 Russian aircraft and helicopters.
Forces. The pictures showing a Russian Mi-24 helicopter being struck by a surface-to-air missile come from a Ukrainian government source. It is not clear where exactly in Ukraine the strike took place, but a Russian helicopter being shot down there by Ukrainian forces.
Ukraine's president has attacked NATO leaders over their refusal to implement a no-fly zone around the country. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that West's reluctance to intervene had given Russia what he calls a green light to continue bombarding towns and villages. NATO has argued that a no-fly zone will result in confrontation with Moscow, and Russia's President Vladimir Putin said that any such move would be seen as participation in an armed conflict by that country. Meanwhile, U.S. President Biden discussed speeding up U.S. military, humanitarian, and economic support for Ukraine in a call with President Zelensky, as reports warned that the number of refugees fleeing the conflict could soon reach 1.5 million.
We'll bring you more on this story tomorrow as well. Now on to more local stories. The Public Utilities Commission has confirmed to the CEB from tomorrow there'll be 2.5-hour power cuts in several areas in the country. And in the meantime, the Minister of Power, Pavitra Vanyarachi, says or has requested the CEB to provide measures in the form of reports for solutions to expedite the process.
Yeah, a sigh of relief from 7.5 hours to 2.5 hours. Minister of Power, Pavitra Vanyarachi, has instructed the Electricity Board to take speedy steps to manage electricity supply, minimizing the impact on the people's lives. Internal sources of the Electricity Board said that the instructions have been given during a special meeting today at the ministry.
The Minister of Power has instructed the Electricity Board to provide a report on the measures to be taken expeditiously and on long term to maintain electricity supply without interruptions. The relevant measures are to be submitted to the Cabinet tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Petroleum Corporation said yesterday necessary fuel stocks will be issued to the Kalanithissa and other power plants. Public Utilities Commission has given permission to the Electricity Board to impose a power cut of 2.5 hours tomorrow in several areas of the country. Accordingly, electricity will be disconnected in A, B, and C zones. Long queues near filling stations were seen today as well due to the shortage of fuel. Petroleum Corporation said that unloading of oil in 2 ships is taking place. The other 2 diesel ships are scheduled to reach the country tomorrow and the day after. The corporation said there is no shortage of petrol in the country. Chairman of the Petroleum Corporation, Sumit Vijayasinghe, said that unloading and distribution of fuel is taking place efficiently. He said that there are sufficient stocks of fuel in the country. The stocks have been stored at fuel storage facilities. Therefore, it is not necessary to get fuel by staying in queues near filling stations. The consumers can get fuel as usual. There will not be any fuel shortage after the next few days. Meanwhile, issuing diesel for private buses commenced yesterday from the filling stations belonging to the Sri Lanka's Transport Board. Chairman of the Sri Lanka Transport Board, Kingsley Ranawaka, said that the issuing of fuel to the private sector commenced yesterday through 100 filling stations belonging to the SLCTB. There's a requirement of 831,000 litres for a day to operate private and SLTB buses. 400,000 litres are needed by the SLTB and 431,000 litres are needed by private buses. The total capacity at present is sufficient in this regard. 27,000 litres have been issued by this morning from yesterday. The Petroleum Corporation has agreed to continuously provide fuel.
In other stories for you, a sign of relief, and I believe the students are also excited as school reopens tomorrow after the A-level examination. And following that, there's been a request to have 20 students per class and also implement other methodologies as well.
Yeah, a little bit of restriction as well. Well, schools are scheduled to be open tomorrow after the GCE Advanced Level Examination 2021. The Minister of Education said that students should be called to the schools in limited numbers.
The Ministry of Education has informed that alternative teaching methodologies should be used for groups who would not be called to schools to cover the relevant subjects. Classrooms with 20 students can be held every day. Steps have been taken to conduct classes with 40 students, dividing them to two groups and every other week. Students with more than 40 can conduct studies by dividing them into three groups. Secretary to the Ministry, Professor Kapila Pereira, said that academic and non-academic staff should report for duty as usual. The Examinations Department said results of the GCE Advanced Level Examination 2021 will be issued within 3 months. Commissioner General of Examinations, LMD Dharmasena, said that everyone supported to conduct the examinations successfully. It is an honor to get the assistance from all institutions to conduct the examination successfully amidst electricity and fuel problems and the COVID pandemic. The students sat the examination in a very disciplined manner. Steps are being taken to release the results of the scholarship examination. If the situation of the country remains normal, results of the GCE Advanced Level Examination can be issued within about 3.5 months, he said.
Topics like drug racketing and looking after our future is something that's really, really important. And given that statement, Clifford, I think the government is working very well towards this process.
Oh yes, and this is like, it's like a cancer, you know. So the earlier it is eliminated or wiped out totally from this land and from the world, the better for especially the younger generation.
That's right. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says that drug racketeers should be eliminated to protect the future generations.
Well, the Prime Minister mentioned this after opening the new Narambala Pradesh Sabha building yesterday.
A new two-story building was constructed with the aim of providing an efficient service to the people of Narambala Pradesh Sabha area. 133 million rupees have been used under the Puranaguma project of the Mahinda Chintana program and Pradesh Sabha funds. The Prime Minister launched the official website of the Narambala Pradesh Sabha, naramalaps.dolgnwp.lk. Mapping of roads commenced to coincide with the event as an inaugural step of digital governance. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said that there should be a good environment to work. Steps were taken during the time of war to develop state buildings and roads. The results have been reaped today. When the construction of expressways began, many groups in the country criticized those. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has taken steps to develop the country by expressing his views clearly. All of us have to take measures to implement these programs. Steps should be taken to eliminate drug racketeers to protect the future generations, he said. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa inspected the activities of the Kurunagala Prime Minister's Coordinating Office yesterday. It has been established at Kurunagala Yantampalava area. During the meeting with the district representatives, attention was paid on the development activities of the area. The Prime Minister inquired from the public representatives about the 48 towers that are being built in the Kurunagala area under the Gamata Sannivedana program. The Prime Minister, calling Minister Namal Rajapaksa over telephone, instructed him to expedite the activities. A group of people, including Minister Johnston Fernando, were present on the occasion. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa took part in religious practices yesterday at Mawatagama, Yatiwala Sri Gunawardhanarama Temple. The Prime Minister called on the chairman of the Sri Lanka Pahana Foundation of England, Pilassa Sri Dhirananda Pirivenadipati, and Chief Prelate of the Sri Gunawardhanarama Temple, the Venerable Hunupala Shantadeva Thera, and received his blessings. Thereafter, the Premier visited the new shrine room, the reclining Buddha statue, which was opened recently, and engaged in religious observances. A group of people, including the Mahasangha, were present on this occasion.
Well, this is the news coming to you live from the National News Studio. We move on with more local stories. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Nikavaritiya Women's Balamandale meeting took place today with the participation of a large number of women. Well, the meeting took place under the patronage of Minister Johnston Fernando. A large number of women, including parliamentarians Sumit Udukumbura, Manjula Disanayaka and Kokila Gunawardena, attended the meeting.
සම්පූර්ණ මේ තෙල් ප්‍රශ්නේ තා පැය 24ක් යන ඉස්සෙල්ලා අවසන් වෙයි කියලා ඉතාමත් විශ්වාසයෙන් අපි කියනවා. හැබැයි ඒ විශ්වාසෙ තිබුණේ අපේ හිටපු ඇමතිවරු කනගාටුවට කරුණ අපේ.
We're still on local news. Now, we understand that a lot of you have made plans to go to Nuur earlier in the month of April. However,
I changed my plans.
you changed your plans. And also, from your hometown, the Allah Odyssey train has been launched, Clifford. Do you have any plans to go from Kandy to Allah?
Very exciting because Allah is definitely a tourist hotspot, not only for international tourists, but as well as for local tourists as well. So this train service, a super luxury train service, is going to be a huge boost to tourism.
And I understand that there are a lot of tourists waiting for it, as a super luxury train is being operated from yesterday between Kandy and Allah, targeting the tourism industry. The first journey took place with the attendance of Transport Minister Dilum Amunugama. The train stops for a short while at each place with tourist attraction.
Allah Odyssey is a special train service for the travelers. It's for local and foreign travelers. They can stop every special places to watch their specifications.
This will have around 176 AC first class seats and over 144 second class seats.
This is the first train starting from Kandy to Allah. We have decided to start daily train from Kandy to Allah. The main reason is there are a number of tourists during the season who come to Kandy, and there are very few limited places that they can visit, like the Dalada Maligav and the botanical gardens and so forth. That is why we decided to start this train, and this is the first trip that we will be traveling to Allah. And I'm told that even today's trip is a profit. They are sold out. I think we will be able to earn a better revenue or a good revenue in future.
Sri Lankan associations of inbound tour operators said they were delighted to learn of the launch of the new train from Kandy to Allah on daily basis.
I think our members from the association are delighted about this because they're all excited. We have about 100 people today on the board, all our members. So they're very happy about it and excited about this venture, especially the ability to sell it and to buy the tickets freely online. That's something that we have been really looking forward for. So it's a very good idea.
This is a very historical movement where we, the tourists, had a lot of challenges to purchase tickets for this stretch from Kandy to Nanue range. One of the most beautiful the locations where we see Nainach and going through mountains and waterfalls. So they had the difficulty of purchasing tickets all this time, where they had to go through third party and they did not have enough tickets. But now I must thank the Ceylon Railway, the General Manager Mr. Jayasundar and his team for the wonderful job that they have done. Our association requested through also the Sri Lanka Tourism. Then finally he managed to reserve a special train for this journey.
One of the unique features of this is that the train stop in several tourist hotspots and allow guests to get down and visit those places and come back again, which is also a first of its kind in Sri Lanka.
We are first time in Sri Lanka, so we don't know a lot about this. So we just read in the guide tour that this is the beautiful trip. So we just bought the tickets to this train. But it's a big surprise that.
I'm from Belgium. The thing I was expecting the most to come to Sri Lanka was doing this way, because even like out in Europe, it's like very well known that it's like one of the most beautiful train rides in the world. So I was very looking forward to be in this train. to enjoy the view, the nature and the ride.
We went to Sri Lanka because of the nature, of the beaches, and we're choosing this tour especially because with train you see so much of the country and the nature. I mean, it's amazing. For us, we're from Germany, so it's very cold and not that green, so it's very nice to see this.
Well, the Allah Odyssey begins. Moving on with more stories now, Sharon. There's a very popular program called Nandana Vindana. Have you seen it? Well, it was in the early 80s. Both of us were not born at that time. Anyway, it is a very popular program, and it was a popular program of music. Now, though it was a very popular musical program, it had an element of comedy, and that was, in fact, an element that was very much looked forward to by the viewers. And, in fact, one of the key players of that comedy element bids farewell to the nation. Veteran artist Bertie Gunathilaka passes away this morning while undergoing treatment at a hospital. Well, he was 97 years at the time of his demise. Mr. Bertie Gunathilaka, who was born on the 24th of August 1924 in Kandy, Ampitiya, studied at the Ampitiya Primary School and then at the Kandy Sangaraja Piruvena. He's a father of four and a veteran comedian. Fans came to know him through the Vihilu Tahalu program of the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, the comedy act he presented in Nandana Vindana program telecast over national television in the 80s decade is still popular among the viewers. National television offers its respect to artist Bertie Gunathilaka, who provided entertainment for the Sri Lankan people over 5 decades. The funeral will be held tomorrow at the Boralla General Cemetery.
Now to bring you some interesting stories and also to make you a little hungry, with the aim of promoting the Vietnamese traditional dishes among Sri Lankans and international community in Sri Lanka, Vietnam Embassy in Sri Lanka organized a pho day in Colombo yesterday. It is one of the most popular dishes in Vietnam and considered as Vietnam's national dish. It can be served in households, street stalls and restaurants countrywide. Pho has been originated in northern Vietnam and is normally made with bone, beef broth, noodles from rice and thinly sliced beef served with bean sprouts and other accompaniments. The most common variations are pho ga and pho chay at most pho restaurants. There are also several other condiments on the table such as soy sauce, fish sauce and chili paste and the flavor that broth.
Well, what can we say? Bon appetit. Teasing your taste buds there. Moving on with more local stories. Development of Badul, Khandegedara, Veeragama Road commenced yesterday under the patronage of MP Dilan Pereira. Well, the road is developed by laying asphalt under the I-Road project at a cost of 50 million rupees. 1 kilometer of the road will be laid with asphalt under the project. The road is developed under the Saubhagye Mangpeta program. Development of road up to Miriagala from Saranathota. Narangala Kovil also commenced yesterday under the patronage of MP Dilan Pereira. It is being implemented by the I-Road project. Asphalt will be laid on 6 kilometers at a cost of 50 million rupees.
And bringing you some positive news, 81,000 hectares of paddy in the Kurunegala district have been cultivated using organic fertilizer. Harvesting has been completed by about 50%. Paddy cultivation in the March season was done in the Kurunegala district under 56 agrarian service centres. 156,000 farmers have been involved with the cultivations. Kurunegala District Secretary RMR Ratnayaka said that 43,000 hectares of paddy has been harvested. Officials of the agrarian centres are taking part in field tours to observe the organic paddy harvesting. 15,000 kilograms of organic fertilizer produced by Hinguragoda Galloya, Haraskotua and Civil Defence Forces officers were handed over to the government fertilizer storage complexes yesterday. The stock was handed over by the head of the Civil Defence Force, Madrigiri Region, Lieutenant Colonel NDA Nisanka.
Well, we have now some more local stories in brief. Foreign Minister Professor G.L. Paris has taken part in several rounds of discussions on the sidelines of the 49th session of the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva. He held discussions with permanent representative of US, UK, Iran and the deputy head of judicial affairs of Iran. New water connections were given yesterday by developing water distribution system from Galagedara Kandekumbura to Galvati Kanda. 20 million rupees have been spent on the project, which will benefit 250 people. It was being implemented under the Vistas of Prosperity policy statement. Minister Kehelia Rabukela was present on this occasion. Placing of sacred relics inside the Digavapi Stupa took place today under the patronage of Defence Secretary General Kamal Gunratna. The procession to carry the sacred relics, Digavapi Stupa, commenced on the 2nd from the Sri Shambodhi temple in Colombo 7.
We are bringing you now a story of a special visitor who stays around this area for the last couple of days, as we've got information. Skandaraja, a friendly visitor where we request the public, you can take pictures, you can say hello to him, but please refrain from feeding the animal. Buttala Katragama Road goes through Yala, and this is where the Yala National Wildlife Park. And this is about the visitor who remains on the road these days. These are several elephants staying by the Buttala Katragama Road as people traveling in vehicles give them food. Our camera captured a huge elephant moving on the road. Wildlife officials said that the elephant known as Skandaraja among the wildlife photographers is trying to attack motorcycles and vehicles. Therefore, they requested the people to refrain from feeding the elephants. Well, that's a look at Rupavahini News for tonight. Do join us tomorrow at 8:50. Together with Clifford Richards, I'm Shara Mascarenhas, wishing you a very pleasant week.
Good night.